Hello everybody, this is Llodg, and today I'm going to be talking about how the game Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith holds up 20 years later. Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith released on May 5th, 2005, and was based on the movie of the same name. Big surprise, I know, though weirdly enough this game came out 2 weeks before the movie opened in theaters, so if you were really excited to see how the prequel trilogy would wrap up, you could play this game and find out before others did. And the game was developed by The Collective. I am playing the original Xbox version of the game on the Xbox Series X, and unlike some of the other original Xbox Star Wars games I've covered, this game is still in its original 4:3 aspect ratio. Most Star Wars games can actually be played in widescreen mode without it being stretched, but for Revenge of the Sith, you're stuck in 4:3 with these black bars. Honestly, this isn't a huge deal, though there are some parts where I wish I could see further down the levels. The game has the same basic story as the movie. You get to see Anakin's turn to the dark side, but there are some differences. For one, this game's story is much lighter than the movies, and some of the scenes are much longer than they were in the movie. Like the first section, Obi-Wan and Anakin are going to save Palpatine, a fairly long section of the movie, but it's also 6 levels long when the whole game only has 17 levels total. I will run through the story since it has some slight differences to the movie. The game still starts off during the battle over Coruscant, with Obi-Wan and Anakin flying into the ship, the Invisible Hand, to save Chancellor Palpatine. The game only shows a cutscene of Anakin and Obi-Wan flying into the ship and doesn't have any of the actual space battle, which is a little disappointing. The game also has 2 main ways cutscenes are presented, with the first one showing off actual clips from the movie, or having the cutscenes be in-engine. Since this game came out before the movie, I could see it being a main selling point to see specific scenes from the movie before it actually comes out. Though nowadays, with us being able to watch Revenge of the Sith whenever we want in high quality, it doesn't have the same appeal as it did when it first released. I kind of wish that instead of there being scenes directly from the movie, they would have just made all the scenes in-engine. I really like the in-engine cutscenes, as I think they give the game a certain charm and are honestly really well done. I'll talk about this a little bit later, but I thought the choreography was amazing in them. Though I will say that both the movie scenes and specific in-engine scenes do look worse than other in-engine scenes, and I think that's because it was made for a CRT, where the other ones are just kind of presented to you in a higher quality, and I wish they were all in this higher quality. Like, yeah, overall it doesn't matter, but it would have been nice just to have this game looking the best it could. The gameplay for the game is your typical action hack and slash gameplay. You have a regular and strong attack, you also have a critical strike and can cripple enemies easily. Grappling is another move that is pretty fun, especially when you can just throw enemies off the edge. You can also use the Force for a variety of moves, such as pushing and pulling enemies, stunning them, blocking projectiles, and you can even use Force speed. You can also use Force healing. If only someone remembered they could use that. There are a couple more that become usable later, and I'll mention them when they come up. Also, during levels, there will be times when you can use the Force to be able to traverse the levels. I think this game does a really good job of making you feel like a Jedi Master, or I guess I mean a Jedi Master and a Jedi Knight who's on the Jedi Council, but is not a Master. Also, the main story has you playing as only Anakin and Obi-Wan. Depending on the level, you'll swap between them. Also, at the end of each level, depending on how well you did, you can upgrade whichever character you were playing as in the level to make their moves better or to unlock more moves for you to do in your combos. Also, there are secrets hidden in many of the levels that'll give you more health or more of your Force meter. Okay, now we can finally get back to talking about the story. Anakin and Obi-Wan go through the Invisible Hand, even having to go through the sewer and fighting atop runaway elevators. Eventually they make it to where Palpatine is being held, until...
Just because there are 2 of you, do not assume you have the advantage.
You're finished, Dooku. My powers have doubled since we last met, Count.
Good. Twice the crime, double the fall.
Here's what may be the most iconic part of the game: the lightsaber duels. The lightsaber duels are what makes the prequel so cool, and these duels are just as cool. You have to be on your A game to be able to block and dodge attacks, while doing damage where you can. You can also get into lightsaber struggles, which just feel so intense when you get into them, as you try your best to win the struggle. These duels also do a really good job of moving to different areas as the duel is going on, and you even have cutscenes that showcase how cool these duels really are. And in this first duel, it's a 2v1. It'll be easy, and Obi-Wan gets taken out almost immediately. Eventually Anakin wins the duel and takes out Dooku. He didn't even need Palpatine to tell him to do it. Also, I'll bring it up here, but this game won't do some of the kills exactly as they're done in the movie. I'm assuming it's because they were concerned that doing some of the deaths as they were in the movie would have increased the age rating of the game to an M, or maybe they just didn't have the actual scene of the movie, which I kind of doubt, but yeah. This doesn't actually affect anything negatively about the game, it's just something I wanted to bring up. But the story continues like the movie, with Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Palpatine trying to get off the ship. They were even able to destroy other CIS ships. But they still get captured in a ray shield and are brought before General Grievous. Though with R2 going crazy, they are able to free themselves and fight off the Magna Guards. The ship even starts to turn all the way around, but the fight keeps going until a window breaks open and Grievous is able to get away. Anakin and Obi-Wan are able to safely land back in Coruscant and go their separate ways. I'm honestly a little sad that they are doing their own missions from here on out, because it was really great to see them together. They work really well together, though that's a problem I have with the prequels as a whole. I wish Anakin and Obi-Wan spent more time working together like this. But Obi-Wan needs to chase down Grievous and goes to Utapau to find his base. After fighting through a ton of droids, Obi-Wan finds Grievous.
Hello there.
General Kenobi.
Though you don't go straight into a Grievous fight, you have to fight through a ton of Magna Guards and other battle droids, and you even get your clones in there to help you out and take the base. Then Obi-Wan goes after General Grievous for a showdown. Grievous is a pretty interesting dueling opponent since he doesn't use the Force like others, so his powers are more what he can do with his robotic body or just firing a blaster. Grievous beats Obi-Wan and leaves him to blow up in a cave. Yeah, Obi-Wan is just that cool that Grievous has to use his last resort, using 4 lightsabers at the same time. Though it sadly isn't enough and Obi-Wan defeats him in the most civilized way. We then cut back to Anakin, where he walks in on Mace Windu standing over Palpatine, about to kill him. Which I feel is really weird since in the game there was nothing really leading up to this point. We don't see Anakin reveal to Windu that Palpatine is a Sith Lord, or anything about Darth Plagueis. We don't see any of Windu's fight with Palpatine at all. So from our perspective, it looks like Mace is just attacking Palpatine without any reason whatsoever. You might say this is just because Anakin comes in right at this moment, but he was the one who started it all in the first place. I'm really curious what players who played this on launch and didn't see the movie thought of this part. It feels like a huge jump. But anyway, we do get a really cool fight against Mace Windu. The fight takes place all throughout and around Palpatine's office on Coruscant, which I think is a really cool setting for one of these duels, especially when it's storming. Anakin is able to win the duel and kick Mace Windu out the window. He really doesn't need any convincing to do this stuff in the game, does he? Now Anakin is dubbed Darth Vader and goes to the Jedi Temple to activate the temple's signal beacon to lure every Jedi into one place. However, there's one person standing in his way, Jocasta Nu, the chief librarian of the Jedi Temple. Here we'll have our most difficult and fun duel yet, and she's dead. This is the start of Order 66, with Darth Vader and the 501st Legion raiding the Jedi Temple. Instead of droids, you fight Jedi, and they are no match for the Chosen One. Vader is able to just slash through all that the Jedi have to throw at him. He has also learned how to perform Force Lightning instead of the normal stun, which is just way cooler and something I think Anakin should have known. I'm not sure if it was intentional, but I do like that he's using the Force Lightning with his regular hand instead of his robotic one. Also, I keep thinking that the regular enemies were Rey, because their outfits kind of looked like what she wore in Episode 8. Darth Vader makes his way through the temple, even bringing down the statues in order to get further in. He even shoots down Jedi who are trying to flee the planet in their ships. He eventually makes it to the signal beacon to make sure he can finish off all the remaining Jedi. He gets word that the Jedi Master Llodg has penetrated some of the clones' defenses. On his way to find Llodg, he finds Bastila?
Sarah.
Oh, I guess she just kinda looks like Bastila. But this is Sarah Keto. She's a Jedi Knight who was an apprentice of Llodg. You may ask why you haven't heard of her, and that's because this is basically her only appearance in all Star Wars. She also appeared in a small comic in 2006 that basically recapped this part of the game. But despite how cool she looks, she's still a Jedi and Vader won't let her leave here alive. Sarah sadly didn't have too much of a chance and has the lamest death for a Jedi. But then her master Llodg comes running in. Llodg is actually in more than just this game, making small appearances in both the actual movie and in Season 5 of Clone Wars. Also, fun fact, he's based on the stunt coordinator of the 3 prequel movies. But despite these facts, he still can't beat Darth Vader. At least he got to perish while a cool sunset was happening. Then we flash back to Obi-Wan, where Order 66 has officially begun and his clone battalion turns against him. Now he has to fight through both the droid and clone armies. As Vader got the Force Lightning ability, Obi-Wan can now use a stun to mind trick organics to fight on his side. Obi-Wan is able to make it to his ship and join Yoda and Bail Organa. We cut back to Vader flying to Mustafar under Palpatine's orders to wipe out the Separatist leaders. Even though they have so many guards and droids to guard them, Vader is able to push through and take them all out, though Newt Gunray tries to flee. Though instead of flying away, he tries to use his ship to attack Vader in a boss fight I really do not care for, though I guess he didn't know Vader could use Force Lightning and his ship goes down in the lava. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan and Yoda see the signal from the Jedi Temple and go to end the deception of the beacon. They of course meet clones and have to fight them through the ruined temple. While you play as Obi-Wan through this section, you have Yoda there fighting alongside you. Despite being a Jedi, no clone is safe. They even shoot down some Republic gunships. Before Obi-Wan is able to make it to the beacon, clone assassins come to stop us, and they are my least favorite enemies in the game. They are just so hard to hit and dodge so much. After swinging a lightsaber for what feels like ever, the clone assassins are defeated and Obi-Wan and Yoda see that Anakin turned to the dark side and became Darth Vader. Doing what must be done, Obi-Wan goes to defeat his old apprentice. This is what Revenge of the Sith is most known for, an epic duel that sprawls across the lava planet. A battle between master and apprentice, a battle between brothers. It's a difficult fight, but Obi-Wan jumps away.
It's over, Anakin! I have the high ground! You underestimate the power of the dark side. Don't try it!
Vader pulls out his last move, to defeat and humiliate Obi-Wan by using the same move he used to defeat Darth Maul. However, Obi-Wan is a master duelist and easily counters the move, defeating Anakin, taking his lightsaber and leaving him on Mustafar. The game ends with clips of the movie, showing Darth Vader in his iconic suit, and Obi-Wan giving Luke to his Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen. And that's the end of the campaign! Except there's one final level. Revenge of the Sith. Here, instead of playing as Obi-Wan, you play as Darth Vader in the same duel on Mustafar. For the most part, it's the same level as the previous one, but as Obi-Wan gets the high ground, Vader is able to dodge his attack and kill Obi-Wan. He then meets up with Darth Sidious, who gives him a brand new red lightsaber. However, with Sidious's guard down, Vader takes this chance to kill his master, taking the galaxy for himself. Yep, probably the biggest thing about this game is this alternate ending. It's really cool and memorable. Maybe if they do more Star Wars what ifs like those old comics, this would be a cool thing to explore. It's not strictly story content, but there are 5 bonus missions. These bonus missions mostly consist of you playing as another character such as Magna Guard, Grievous, or Yoda, and fighting hordes of enemies. But there are also some like this Anakin Mustafar Lava Challenge where Anakin has to go through the level. But my favorite of the bonus missions has to be Episode 4 Death Star, where you see clips for A New Hope, and get to play as Darth Vader in his rematch against Obi-Wan. It's basically SC-38 reimagined. But it is something that I wish was done more in this game, duels across the saga. Oh well, at least we got this one. But that is all the campaign content you can find in this game. Again, if you've seen the movie, you already know much more about the plot than if you just play the game, but I also feel you would be lost if you only played the game. You never have a true reveal of who Palpatine is. Like sure, after Anakin saves him, you see Darth Sidious, but it's not the same. While I do like that this game revolves around Anakin and Obi-Wan, it leaves out so much from the movie that I wish it was a bit longer to expand upon characters that are only present in the movie. Padme is not even in the game. The only time she's mentioned is in this one throwaway line.
Turn Padme against me!
This might sound a little weird, but Padme is a big plot point in the movie, and a big part of Anakin's motivation for why he saves Sidious. The game frames it more on killing him not being the Jedi way, instead of Anakin wanting to know more about Darth Plagueis' abilities. In fact, I think the game could have benefited from more female characters. Now with the way the game's story is played out, there aren't many places where you could really show off those women, but it feels really weird to have the only woman in this game to be a character who was made up for this game when there were multiple female Jedi who were prominent characters in the prequel era. Characters like Aayla Secura, Shaak Ti, Luminara were all present in the prequels and would have been cool to have in the game in some form. If anything, they would have been good choices to play as in the Versus mode. The Versus mode is another iconic and memorable part of the game, as it's the duels from the campaign, but you can play them against a friend. You can play on 14 different maps that appeared in the campaign, and can play as any of the characters that you fought against in the campaign, plus Darth Vader and old Obi-Wan. I know the game was probably rushed to be able to come out around the movie release, but I would have appreciated a couple more characters from the prequels, or even the original trilogy. This might be a little far-fetched, but Legends characters like Mara Jade or Kyle Katarn could have also been fun to play as. But I do think it's cool that some characters, if you play as both of them at the same time, you can see the dark side version of them. Finally, there are the challenge missions, which are 4 co-op missions that have you and a friend fight enemies as you go through them. They are mostly Anakin and Obi-Wan missions, but you can play as Sarah and Sin in the Jedi Strike Back. But yeah, that's basically all the content that's within this game. For a movie game, there's a surprising amount of levels and stuff to do in this game. The duels especially can bring you hours of fun if you're playing with friends to learn all the moves and get better at playing. Like some of the other Star Wars games at this time, there was a lot of concept art that was both used for the actual movie and the game. I think the art looks really cool, and I always love seeing the concept art of characters and enemies. I'm curious to know the timeline for this game's development, because there are so many enemies, and despite most of them being pretty much the exact same, it was nice to see enemies be different from level to level. The combat felt really good. Now, not as good as something like Ninja Gaiden, but for a licensed movie game, it was a lot better than I expected. I felt like a Jedi Master going through and slashing up droids or having lightsaber battles. And while I like that there are so many different force powers, I wish they were all connected to the force bar. There were so many times where I used too many force moves and was completely drained when I need the force to progress. When I say everything involving the force uses the force bar, I mean everything. Even these scripted sequences of having huge piles of rubble or doing a force jump. If you don't have enough of the force, you can't do it. It's so frustrating to have to wait for it to slowly recharge, especially when it's in a place like this, where you have to throw your lightsaber across the way and you keep missing. I don't know why I kept missing, but I did. And since it used the force bar, I couldn't just try over and over again while making small adjustments. I had to wait so long just to get a good enough try and to progress. I just wish not everything was connected to the force bar. It makes the game slow down at points it really shouldn't. I feel like the game had so many cool ideas that I wouldn't have expected from it, like during the last level on the Invisible Hand, when the ship is turning all the way around, Grievous is able to stand upright because of his magnetic legs. It's just a cool idea that they didn't need to do, but were still able to do it. Depending on the level and what's actually happening in the movie, Anakin and Obi-Wan will either have their robes on, will have them off, or even have a hood on. It honestly wasn't necessary. I mean, you could have just kept them off the whole game and it wouldn't have been an issue, but following the movie in that regard is really commendable. The choreography of the in-game cutscenes is really good. I loved seeing how they animated the lightsaber duels especially, but there are also some moments that are just really funny to me. The game looks pretty good. It's a late Xbox game, but you're still able to tell what everything is, and it feels so much like Star Wars. Most of the character models also look pretty good. Anakin's probably my favorite out of all of them. They got his face down to a T. Obi-Wan looked a little weird in some places though. I also like that the back-to-tank pickups were the same as in the old Battlefront games. The sound effects were all your classic Star Wars sounds, which makes sense, but I'm glad that they're all here. Most of the music is from the prequels. Most of the tracks I was able to pick up on were from Phantom Menace specifically, and there was even the Imperial March from Empire. I don't think they were able to use any music from Revenge of the Sith. Like instead of the Battle of Heroes track being played during Anakin and Obi-Wan's fight, it plays Duel of the Fates, which in my opinion is a good substitute. And all the voice actors are the Clone Wars voice actors, which is easy to pick up on Obi-Wan with James Arnold Taylor, because he does Obi-Wan all the time and he's really good at it, and also has his own specific type of Obi-Wan. But this Anakin is voiced by Matt Lucas, who voiced him in the 2003 Clone Wars show, and he gets Hayden Christensen down perfectly. Like I had to look up if Hayden Christensen actually came in and did this game. He's just perfect. I get why they got Anakin a new voice actor, and I really love that new voice actor for Anakin, but if you want Hayden Christensen, get Matt Lucas. He is perfect.
You're jealous of my power.
They should have left you on Tatooine!
We are in a time where, despite their flaws, the prequels have a really good standing with Star Wars fans nowadays. Other than people being able to see the good in the movies, I think these games are what people remember playing as the movies originally came out and love them. These games help people fall in love with Star Wars, being able to actually participate in the Anakin and Obi-Wan fight. However, this isn't the case for the sequels. Now, I enjoy the sequels more than most people. I mean, look at my tier list I did for the 12 movies last year, but we don't have any games that follow the events of the movies like we used to. Like, yeah, we have the new Battlefronts, Jedi games, Outlaws, but other than the LEGO games, we have nothing that actually follows the events of the sequels. I'm sure the sequels will get the credit they deserve from fans in the future when there's a new trilogy to dislike, but without games, I think it'll be more difficult for more fans to come around on different aspects of the sequels. So basically, I want 3 games like this one for the sequels. Have them be lower budget and use scenes from the movies. Honestly, I'd love if they had character models like this one. Basically, I just want more Star Wars games like this one, but with hopefully a bit more of a budget. Maybe throw in more characters for duels or something. This game is something really special, even though it shouldn't be. So many movie licensed games are forgettable, but 20 years later, here I am talking about Revenge of the Sith for the Xbox. If you can give this game a try, it's honestly a really fun time, especially if you have a friend to duel against. Let me know what you think about Revenge of the Sith, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a good day, and goodbye.